The way I think about all of this is it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle that needs sorting, and judging by how intelligent you are, or how disciplined, how motivated, how hungry you are, it's gonna take a certain amount of time. I'm purely speaking from a, mental, intellectual, psychological perspective. I'm not talking about genes, physical prowess, leverages, none of that. I'm talking about the mental side of the game. How quickly are you going to come up with the right answers? You're in a rut. You've hit a flat line. You've hit a plateau. How the hell do you get out of there? I often think to myself, man, if I was as smart as Nikola Tesla or Albert Einstein or something, some sort of intelligence like that, these problems that I have in the gym, these connections that I'm searching for, these aha moments, these I'm onto something moments would come so much more frequently. If you think about it, this is a joke. This is a joke, intellectually speaking. Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein, man, these guys were thinking about stuff that we can't even picture. They were coming up with these concepts, these theories, these solutions to problems in the world, which have freaking made, our intelligence as a species leap, forward in technology, and everyone is benefiting. The whole 7 billion of us on the planet, everyone is benefiting by some of the ideas they come up with. And I'm having trouble connecting 2 damn freaking neurons about a damn squat. I take that personally as frustration. I'm frustrated that I do not have enough brain power to work some of this stuff out. If we were to say that I was going to live 1,000 years and I could run every freaking experiment, every combination, every exercise for 1,000-day blocks and basically run it like a freaking experiment with all these different variables, I would run at the end of 1,000 freaking days. I would sit here and be like, this is what's up. I've spent 1,000 freaking years working this stuff out, and this is what's worked for me. But the trouble is we don't have enough time. I used to think when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, man, I've got such a long time to live. And then I finished university. That was kind of like a quick time, freaking going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Uni the rest of the days. Even the Thursdays and Fridays, but I'd go out and whatever. That whole period, 3 years, went by real quick. Then I got a job. Soon after that, I got a mortgage. And then when you get a job, you're working full time, blah, blah, blah. One roster after next roster after next roster. You're only getting a few days off per week. Things start to accelerate. You meet a girl, you settle down, you have kids, and then it's like a freaking fast forward. I feel like somebody's hit freaking fast forward button and it's just jammed. That's how quickly life goes. My brother-in-law, man, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was like 23, 24. I was sitting there and he was like 30, 29, 30 or something around there. And he basically said to me, you watch, man, like 30s are going to come around so quickly because you're so much more busy in that middle kind of late 20s than you were in your late teens. You're so much busy. You think you were busy when you were 18, 19? You got no idea, dude. Like, it's going to fly. And it did fly. It's incredible. I meet some young fellas in the gym now and I'm like, man, you're 20, 21. Like, it's like so fast. And then I find myself in basically early 30s, mid 30s. And once you finish your 30s, you're in your 40s, right? And each of these years, as it goes on, like more and more responsibility comes in. Like, your family starts to grow, more responsibility. Like, for example, like back in the day when I was a youngster, my dad used to mow the lawn, take care of the house, clean the gutters, all this sort of stuff. Now I'm doing this sort of stuff. I'm taking the kids to school. My dad used to take me to school. Now I'm taking the kids to school, taking them to the pool, doing it. It's almost like every day there's something going on. Right? And he's just like so busy. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I can't devote that time to active thinking about my puzzle. The puzzle which we're concerning ourselves with. So it's going really, really quickly. This is what Albert Einstein said. Obviously, his problems were much more complex than my problems. But he's got a lot more intelligence. So we're kind of around the ballpark. I'm basically concerning myself with monkey type stuff. How to move a barbell a little bit better than last time. He's talking about general freaking relativity, right? So both of us have equal, problems, in relation to our intelligence level, let's say. But also each of us has fixed amount of time, right? I think Albert Einstein died when he was 55. I certainly hope I don't die at 55. But, okay, he might have, if he was lucky, he would have died at 75, 80. This is what I remember him saying. There is so much knowledge to be had. There is so much research to be done. You cannot know everything. The only way forward is to specialize into a very, very particular subject. And even then, 100 years of your life is not going to be enough to master it. This is where specialities have to exist, because you can't know everything about everything. We don't live 1,000 freaking years. Some of us die at 55. So if you are just bouncing around the bush all the time, jumping from one tree to another, you're not going to know any tree. You're best to stick to your lane and work out what you want to work out. That's not a discouragement that, if you pick a lane, you have to stick with the lane. But you need to understand there is a time pressure associated with all of this. There's a time pressure. Whether you like it or not, the time's going by. Whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, it's going by. So if you want to work some of this stuff out, you just need to be, mindful of all these time factors. We talk about recovery. You do legs today, it's going to take 7 days to work out. All this sort of stuff. There's also a grand, like a big arc of our life. Like, there's a line for our freaking life. You get born and then you die on the other end of that line. So there's lines everywhere. And in these micro cycles, there is weekly schedules of our training. Everything has time pressure. And this time pressure, I think about, and I'm like, man, if I knew what I know now when I was 20, it would be so much more efficient. If I was more intelligent like Albert Einstein, all of these ideas would come. I'm just purely talking about the psychological, the intellectual stuff, connecting dots, understanding what needs to be done. That's half of the journey for me. The other half is the recovery, my genes, my muscle composition, all this sort of stuff. That's the other side. But that stuff, like, it's almost like fixed. You could probably argue that my intelligence is also fixed. It is what it is. But I feel like intelligence is more malleable. Maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know. I feel like we can always learn a little bit more. I don't know. I could probably think about that a little bit more. But I always feel like the brain power is much, much greater than muscular power. I feel like if I was a little bit more smarter, I'll be able to, understand and work some of these out a little bit quicker. And the puzzle would start to form a picture, a lot quicker. And ultimately, this is the majority of my journey, really. Like, I get so freaking excited, man, when I work stuff out, when I feel like I'm onto something. And those moments are onto something, it's a big gap of time in between these moments. I wish I could work it out quicker. But at the same time, some of these experiments you can't speed up. You can't speed up 3 months worth of training log. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I was Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, that I was like, this really, really smart guy that can put it all together really quickly. But then I think to myself, man, if you devote a whole freaking life into this thing that you've fallen in love with, eventually you're going to work it out. You might not be able to capitalize on some of these ideas because your body might by then start to let go. But maybe then you can hand that knowledge on to somebody else and then you can see them flourish with it. This is some of the thoughts that I think about, and it kind of comforts me in a way to know that maybe my son or my daughter will benefit from some of these ideas that I'm forming. Maybe I could, continue to spread my ideas and my findings as I go on. Because you can always improve. Like an 80-year-old, you can always improve, right? You're probably not going to lift as much as you did when you were 24, 25, but you can still lift, a lot of weight for an 80-year-old. So each kind of age group has its own kind of, measuring stick for what is suitable, what is normal for 80, 70, 50, 60, 30-year-old. But ultimately, it's just a puzzle. It's a puzzle you got to work out, like everything else in life. I just sometimes wish I was a little bit smarter and put all this stuff together a little bit quicker. Because when I open up the journaling log, like I'm going to walk in now and write in my journal, I feel like it's, you know, how could you kind of like work it out? Just think of like a movie, like Matrix, right? Think of Matrix and that screen with all these numbers are flying by and whatever. When you're looking at any piece of information like a training log, I feel like the answer is there. I feel like there's so much data in the last 8 years of my training. The answer is there. It's just connecting the dots, right? And that's the puzzle. And frankly, I love, every time I open up the front cover, I'm always like, keep looking, keep searching, keep thinking. It's such an exciting time. I don't know, like I'm weird, man. Some of you guys might be thinking, you're like, dude, man, you train every day and then you also think about this every day and then you read about the stuff that you did every day. It's like, whoa, man, that's me, man. I don't know. It's such a refreshing mini little project in life that I have. And it's so cool. Like that moment when you're like, oh man, I think I worked something out. I connected these 2 freaking neurons finally, like these lazy buggers bouncing around. Why don't you connect it earlier? It's so freaking cool. And it's such a big motivator to me. Appreciate all of you guys and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.